In this lecture, we'll talk about ratio, proportion, and percent. You will be able to learn how to write the ratios, how to solve the proportions, solve applied problems using proportions, and find the percentages and percents. Let's get started. Let's first look at the definition of what's the ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. A ratio can be written in three different ways. You can use the word to between the two quantities. You can use a semicolon between the two quantities. And the most common way that we write ratio is using a fraction, which is A over B. So in my next three examples, I'll be using a fraction to represent my ratio. Writing a ratio as a fraction. The order is very important when you write the ratio. The quantity which is mentioned first will always go in the numerator. The quantity which is mentioned second will go in your denominator. Let's look at an example. The ratio 5 to the 12 will be written as 5 over 12. As 5 appears first, which will go in the numerator, 12 appears later, which will go in your denominator. Let's look at the examples now. Write a ratio for each phrase. The ratio of 4 pounds to the 7 pounds. The unit here plays a big role when you write the ratio. You need to make sure the units are same. Because if the units are different, we have to make them same before we write the ratio. Let's look at this example first, and the next two examples I will change a different units. 4 pounds over to 7 pounds. When the units are same, you can just cancel them and just write your ratio as 4 over 7. You always have to make sure your fraction is in the lowest term. Here's another example, the ratio of 8 months to the 2 years. In this example, you can see that the units are not same. One is in a month and the other one is an year. We must make the units same, so we have to do some conversion. We will convert the 2 years into month. We already know that 1 year has 12 months, and therefore in 2 years we will have 24 months. We will actually write the ratio of 8 months to 24 months. So as you can see, 8 months over 2 years change into 8 months over 24 months. Once the units are same, you can just cancel them. Now you have to make sure the fraction is in the lowest term. 8 over 24, you can divide both the numerator and denominator by 8. And that's how you get your final ratio and a final answer of 1/3. Let's see one more example with a different unit. The ratio of 4 feet to 30 inches. In this case, as you can see, one unit is in feet and the other unit is in inches. Let's do the conversion first. We will change the feet into inches. We already know that 1 feet equals 12 inches, and therefore 4 feet will equal 4 times 12, 48 inches. Now let's try to write the ratio. 4 feet over 30 inches will equal 48 inches over 30 inches after the conversion. Once the units are same, you can just cancel them. 48 over 30, you must make sure it's in the lowest term. I will divide 48 over 30 both by 6 in order to get my ratio of 8 over 5. Let's talk about the unit pricing. An example of the use of the ratio is in unit pricing. Unit pricing is used when an item is offered in different sizes to determine the best price per unit. This is used in a grocery stores if you trying to find which is the best deal or which product is the cheapest. The formula is very simple. You divide price over the size of the product. Let's look at this with an example in the next slide. Let's look at an example of a cereal box. There are 3 different kinds of cereal which are on sale. The 13-ounce box costs $2.98. The 15-ounce box is $3.15. 18-ounce box is $3.98. How do I know which one is the cheapest? Well, we'll use the formula from the previous slide. We will divide the price of the cereal by the number of ounces in it. And then we'll divide the answer, we will round the answer into 2 decimal places. So you can pause the video when you're ready. You can write down your answer and then you can start the video again. So these are the answers I get. By dividing 2.98 by 13, I get 0.23. By dividing 3.15 by 15, I get 0.21. And by dividing $3.98 by 18, I'll get 0.22. So second one is the cheapest, meaning this is 21 cents per ounce. So if I were you, I would buy my cereal box of 15 ounce for $3.15. This is the best deal. Let's talk about the proportions. A proportion states that the two ratios are equal. So A over B is a one ratio and C over D is another ratio. When two ratios are same, that's what becomes a proportion. We will solve this by cross multiplying, or it's also called cross products. We can multiply A times D and B times C to get a linear equation. And this is how we multiply. Let's look at the example. 6 over 10 equals 15 over x. We will simply multiply 6 by x and 15 times 10. And that is your linear equation. 6x equals 150. We will solve for x now by dividing both the sides by 6. And that should give us 25. Because if you reduce 150 divided by 6, you will get 25. Let's look at another example. M over 2 equals m plus 1 over 3. Now in here, because we have m plus 1, which is two terms, when I cross multiply, I'm going to put m plus 1 inside the parenthesis. So this is how I will write 3m equals 2 times m plus 1. The reason I did that, so I will remember to use my distributive property on my right side. So this will give me 3m equals 2 times m 2m plus 2 times 1, 2. Now 3m and 2m are on the separate side of equation. To make it on one side, I will subtract the 2m from both the sides. This will give me m equals 2. 2m and negative 2m will cancel each other out. Now let's look at the proportion problems for the applications. If 8 ounces of medicine must be mixed with the 20 ounces of water, how many ounces of medicine must be mixed with 90 ounces of water? So if you see that I have underlined two things, which means I'm dealing here with two kinds of quantities. First is a medicine and second is a water. So that's therefore my ratio I made as a medicine over water. Equals is must equal medicine over water. In the second part, I only know the 90 ounces of water and I don't know how many ounces of medicine I will mix. So for the second part on my right side, I'm going to use a medicine as X. So my ratio is 8 ounces of medicine, I'm mixing 20 ounces of water. But then for 90 ounces of water, I don't know how much medicine, which is X. In order to simplify, we're just going to cross multiply. 20 times X and 8 times 90. That will give me 20X equals 720. Go ahead and divide both the sides by 20 and that should give you X equals 36 ounces, which means for 90 ounces of water, you must mix 36 ounces of medicine. On the top, if you want to write your ratio as water over medicine, then you have to make sure on my right side also I will put water over medicine. So you can choose any of the quantity on the top and the bottom, but always make sure both the sides are same. Let's look at another example here. 22 guitar lessons cost $396. Find the cost for 12 lessons. So here I have made my ratio as a lesson over cost because those are the two things I'm talking about. So for 22 guitar lesson, I'm going to pay $396. Find the cost. So on my right side, I don't know the cost for 12 lessons. So for cost on my right side, I will use variable X. So this is how I will set up my proportion. For 22 guitar lesson, I'm paying $396. And for 12 lesson, I don't know how much I will pay. So I put the X. Go ahead and cross multiply 22 by X and 12 by 396. This should give you 22X equals 4,752. Now to make X isolated, you're going to divide both the sides by 22. And that should give you X equals $216, which means if you want the 12 lesson, you must pay $216. Let's talk about the percentages. We can solve the percent problem by writing it as a proportion. So this is the formula. You must remember the words is over the of equals the percent over the 100. Out of the three quantity is of in percent, 2 will be always given. You're finding the third one. Let's look at the two examples based on this proportion in order to solve the percent. Here's my example number 1. Find the 20% of 70. The formula is over of equals P over 100. Now, of course, you know the P because it says 20%. So in place of P, you will put 20. After the word of comes the number 70. So we also know what my of is. So in this case, the missing word is. So in place of is, you will use the variable X. So I will use X over 70, which is of 70, and 20%, which is P over 100. Go ahead and cross multiply here. 100 times X equals 70 times 20, which will give me 100X equals 1400. Dividing both the sides by 100, you should get X equals 14, which means if there is something which costs $70 but it's on sale for 20%, then you're going to pay $14 less. So that's the meaning of 20% of 70. Let's look at another example. 90 is what percent of 360? So in this case, we know the word is 90. 90 is. We also know the word of 360. So of is 360. What we don't know here is the P, which is the percent. So this is how I set up my proportion. 90 over 360 equals X over 100. Go ahead and cross multiply now. 90 times 100 and X times 360. This will give you 360X equals 9,000. Go ahead and divide both the sides by 360. And that should give you X equals 25. 25 will be in the percent. So 90 is 25% of 360. So hopefully you understand the percent, and that will be the end of the lecture.